Senate will come to order. Mr. Schaffler, please call the roll.
Senators Amabile, Baisley, Ball, Bridges,
Excused.
Bright, Carson, Catlin, Cutter, Danielson, Doherty,
Excused.
Exum, Frizzell, Gonzalez, Henriksen, Judah, Kipp, Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Lindstedt, Liston, Marchman, Michelson-Genet, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Snyder, Sullivan, Wallace, Weissman, Zamora Wilson. Mr. President.
Let's do this. The morning roll call is 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Carson, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
All right, would everyone in the chamber please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate Journal of February 2nd, 2026 to be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. It was a very loud no from the person who moved. Okay. It's like voting no on a bill and then co-sponsoring once it passes. Senate Services.
Correctly printed, Senate Joint Resolution 8 and 9. Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 4 and 10. Senate Joint Resolution 1 and 6.
Committee reports.
Committee on Education. After consideration on the merits, committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 19 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. February 2nd, 2026, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration, has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Executive Director of the Department of Higher Education, effective January 12, 2026, for a term expiring at the pleasure of the Governor, James J.B. Holston of Denver, Colorado, appointed. February 2nd, 2026, Mr. President, the Committee of Education has had under consideration, has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Private Occupational School Board for a term expiring July 1st, 2026. Howard Ogg of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the general public who is an owner and or operator of a business within Colorado that employs students who are enrolled in schools that are subject to administration by the Private Occupational School Division, occasioned by the resignation of Scott Cardona of Denver, Colorado, appointed for a term expiring July 1st, 2029. Jason Wardrop of Aurora, Colorado, to serve as a public member, appointed. Committee on Judiciary. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 5 be amended as follows, and is so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Jordan Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege.
A moment or moments?
One moment.
My script says moments, and so you've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order for moments of personal privilege. Oh, this is not us. It's the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Members, today we're joined in the chamber by the Colorado Association of Realtors. It's the state's largest professional voluntary nonprofit real estate trade association, is dedicated to serving more than 23,000 realtor members across the state. Their mission statement is the Colorado Association of Realtors empowers members as industry and community leaders with knowledge, ethics, professionalism, and is the collective voice for housing and property rights. Their vision statement is that they advocate for a sustainable marketplace for the benefit of consumers. In particular, I have the privilege of having individuals who serve our entire state, but in particular in our community, that try to help folks, especially in a time where affordability and housing is a big challenge. So I just wanted to ask them to all please stand and be recognized. Please join me in welcoming them to the chamber. Thank you, Madam President. Majority Rodriguez.
You're still in moments of personal privilege.
Never, no.
Y'all see how he
No.
treats me? You see
No.
how he treats me? Majority Rodriguez.
Are we doing third reading consent calendar?
We're doing consideration of resolutions.
That's not in my script. Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee, the floor proceed out of order to take up consideration of resolution.
All you have to do is read, man.
Consideration of a resolution.
The motion is to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. A resolution. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We'll proceed out of order. Consideration of resolutions. Mr. Schauffler, please read the title of SJR 007.
Senate Joint Resolution 007 by Senator Coleman and X and Representatives English and Ricks concerning recognizing February of 2026 as Black History Month.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move SJR 26007 and ask to be read at length.
Mr. Schauffler, please read SJR 007 at length.
Whereas every February, the United States acknowledges and honors that Americans of African descent, through their contributions and sacrifices, have played an indelible role in shaping this country. And whereas even though race and thus the designations of Negro, Black, Colored, and African American has been recognized as a construct originally built to separate and disenfranchise people based on skin color that was associated with people originating from the African continent, there is a shared culture derived from that history that should be seen and elevated. And whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black history, first set out to designate a time to promote and educate people about Black history and culture, as he believed that history created by Black people, despite attempts to limit their potential, is a critical part of American history. And whereas Dr. Woodson founded the organization now known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, or ASALH, galvanizing fellow historians to envision a week-long celebration to encourage the coordinated teaching of Black history in public schools because it was not woven into the fabric of the American history taught year-round. And whereas in 1926, Dr. Woodson was successful in creating Negro History Week, a week celebrated during the second week of February as it coincided with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, both of whom ensured emancipation. And whereas Dr. Woodson believed that Negro History Week would not place limitations on, but would focus on and broaden the nation's consciousness of the importance of learning Black history and make the celebration of Black history in the academic field of history a serious area of study. And whereas by the late 1960s, due to demonstrations concerning racial injustice, inequality, and poverty during the Civil Rights Movement, Negro History Week evolved into what is now known as Black History Month. And whereas calling upon Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history, in 1976, President Gerald R. Ford officially recognized Black History Month during the nation's bicentennial. And whereas the Association for the Study of African American Life and History celebrates its 111th anniversary this year and 100th anniversary of Negro History Week and consequently Black History Month, the 2026 Black History Month theme is designated as a Century of Black History Commemorations. And whereas as part of the global African diaspora, people of African descent in the United States have viewed their role in history as critical to their own development and that of the world. Along with writing Black histories, Black scholars started observing the milestones in the struggle of people of African descent to gain their freedom and equality. revealing their connection to the diaspora. They commemorated the Haitian Revolution, the end of the slave trade, and the end of slavery in Jamaica. They observed American emancipation with Watch Night, Jubilee Day, and Juneteenth celebrations, and noted the motivation of black people to dig up their own history and present it to the world. The American Negro must remake his past in order to make his future. And whereas, in recognition of the contributions of notable Coloradans of African descent who have shaped our state, Barney Ford escaped slavery in Virginia and became a prominent restaurateur, barber, and entrepreneur after arriving in Colorado in 1860. As a civil rights advocate, he actively opposed statehood with suffrage denied to black men and some poor whites. The 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, ratified in 1870, prohibited denying the vote based on race, paving the way for renewed statehood efforts. President Ulysses S. Grant signed Colorado into the Union on August 1, 1876 as the Centennial State. Mr. Ford's actions were influential in guiding Colorado into entry into our Union of States with a constitution that put all men on equal footing before the law, effectively helping guide it towards statehood aligned with Reconstruction-era principles of equality. He continued his civic work afterward, becoming the first black man nominated to the Colorado Territorial Legislature, serving on a federal grand jury and advocating for education and anti-discrimination measures, earning his place in history and as a beacon of light above this chamber. And whereas Clara Brown, also born into slavery in Virginia around 1800 and emancipated in Kentucky upon her enslaver's death in 1856 or 1859, journeyed westward during the Colorado Gold Rush as one of the first African-American women to settle in the region, becoming known as Aunt Clara for her boundless generosity and humanitarian spirit while building wealth through laundry services, boarding houses, mining investments, and real estate in Central City and later Denver, using her prosperity to provide shelter, aid, and support to newly freed, formerly enslaved people, orphans, and settlers in need, earning her the enduring title of Angel of the Rockies and recognition as Colorado's first black pioneer woman. And whereas Representatives John T. Gunnell and Joseph H. Stewart, Colorado's first and second black state representatives, served Arapahoe County from 1881 to 1883 and from 1895 to 1897, respectively, Representative Gunnell sponsored House Bill 57 in 1881, which concerned tenants at will or monthly renters, and Representative Stewart worked on a bill to ensure equal access to public places, regardless of a person's race. And the recognition of their history and leadership led others to pursue legislative leadership in pursuit of creating a thriving and inclusive state. And whereas knowledge and recognition of Colorado's early black civic leaders and the generations to follow to serve as well. Reuben Lewis Sims Jr. was the first African-American firefighter for Aurora Fire Rescue, serving from 1977 until 1997. A pioneer for racial minorities in the department, he was a beloved engineer and firefighter. In October 2023, a portion of East 16th Avenue was renamed in his honor. Penfield Tate II was the first black mayor of Boulder. He did not seek re-election because they tried to recall him for supporting LGBTQ+ rights in the 1970s in Boulder. And whereas Colorado celebrates Senator Regis Groff, the first black Colorado senator, Gloria Tanner, the first black woman senator, Ari Taylor, the first black woman representative, Terrence Carroll, the first black Speaker of the House, Peter Groff, the first black president of the Senate, Naquetta Ricks, the first African-American immigrant legislator, Junie Joseph, the first Haitian immigrant legislator, Regina English, the first black woman legislator elected from El Paso County, and Senator James Coleman, the presiding president of the Senate. And whereas the recognition of Black History Month is not only a call to stewardship of history, but also a call to service and to develop leadership. Over the past 100 years, the proliferation of organizations like the National Pan-Hellenic Council, otherwise known as the Divine Nine, the Urban League, more recently, the My African American Miss Yes, MAAM scholarship pageant, have trained and developed generations of black people to become community leaders, business leaders, advocates, and so much more. And whereas many people have contributed to the inclusion of black history, culture, and perspective in our community development, people like Fannie Mae Duncan of Colorado Springs, who is memorialized because her courageous stand fostered the peaceful integration of Colorado Springs. Ms. Duncan saying, "Everybody welcome," served as an inspiration for leaders like Candace McKnight, the founder of the African American Historical and Genealogical Society of Colorado Springs, and June Waller, a National Organization of African Americans in Housing Legacy Award recipient for over 50 years of work in the field. Both espouse the values that knowing and remembering history helps us not repeat history, and that we know that we as a society can forge forward. And whereas Colorado celebrates Edna Wilson Mosley, a prominent politician, civil rights activist, and educator in Denver and Aurora, who was the first black city councilwoman to serve in Aurora, the only black founder of the Women's Bank of Denver, where she served on the board of directors and a civil rights specialist for the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. She was also married to John Mosley, a highly respected and original Tuskegee Airman. And whereas Colorado celebrates Marie Greenwood, Denver's first black public school teacher who forged the path for educators like Janet Damon, a teacher at Delta High School in Denver Public Schools, who was awarded Colorado's 2025 Teacher of the Year for creating supportive learning environments, advocating for students off track for graduation, and promoting literacy through initiatives like Afros and Books. And whereas Black Americans have focused on examining 3 particular areas of black history to pursue enlightenment and true equality, looking to history and beliefs and values to be freed first from bondage, then to be freed from overly oppressive laws and policies designed to separate and disenfranchise, and now presently to mitigate the impact of such laws through examining and dismantling lingering systems. And to this end, Black Coloradans continue to advocate for and pioneer equity to achieve equality for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the 75th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the House of Representatives concurring herein, 1, that the General Assembly recognizes the profound contributions the Americans of African descent have made to the development of Colorado and the United States, and 2, that the General Assembly recognizes February 2026 as the 100th Black History Month to celebrate the rich cultural heritage, profound impact, and enduring triumphs of Americans of African descent, honor the essential contributions of Americans of African descent to the cultural tapestry of Colorado and the United States, and affirm that we cannot learn valid lessons from false or partial history, but must engage with the full truth of the past, including both adversities and achievements. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to the presidents of the local national Pan-Hellenic councils in Colorado, History Colorado, for use in the racial equity study, Governor Jared Polis, the members of the Colorado Congressional Delegation, President Donald J. Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, colleagues. We won't have any comments today. Myself and the President will be joining the House when they do the joint resolution, and we'll make those remarks there. So if you want to hear a few more remarks from me, join us over there. Mr. President.
Very good. Thank you all, members, for standing. We appreciate you. The motion is the adoption of SJR 007. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, SJR 007 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Thank you, members. Third reading of bills. Consent calendar. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of the bill on the consent calendar.
Senate Bill 10 by Senators Roberts and Pelton B. and Representatives McCluskey and McCormick concerning clarification of definitions used in connection with the taxation of agricultural property.
Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for passage of the bill on third reading of bill's final passage, which is Senate Bill 10.
Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. The motion is the passage of the bill on the third reading of the bill's consent calendar. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, Senate Bill 10 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Kirkmeyer, Kipp, Wallace, Amabile, Michelson Janae, Cutter, Snyder, Gonzalez, Frizzell, Bright, Rich, Baisley, Catlin, Carson, Exum, Zamora Wilson, Mr. Minority Leader, Liston, Judah, Weissman, Ball, Henriksen, Pelton R. Please add the president. Third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of Senate Bill 4.
Senate Bill 4 by Senators Sullivan and Gonzalez and Representative Froelich concerning who may petition a court for an extreme risk protection order.
Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of Senate Bill 26004 on third and final passage.
Discussion. There is discussion. Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the sponsors. We had a good conversation yesterday about this bill. I know it's a passion of theirs. Just a couple of quick comments to think about. Again, we're adding into statute the ability for an institutional petitioner to go through this process of an ERPO. And I would highlight, I appreciate that the existing language in statute actually says they may request, so it's permissive. It's not mandatory that institutions do that. But then does it create a bit of a conflict I've wondered about, where a community member requests a institution to file an ERPO on their behalf? Does it put one or other of those, either the member or the institution, at some kind of risk of not following through potentially? That, and really overlaying the conversation yesterday about maybe the cumbersomeness and the length of time it takes to fill out one. I've never done one. I've never been part of one, so it's difficult to speak with certainty about what that is. But the bill, the conversations were yesterday about, there are a number of them that are denied because of administrative reasons, or they're just not complete or not the level of detail that's required to advance one. So I'm not sure what are the unintended consequences of creating or allowing an institutional petitioner to file that on behalf of a community member. Does it end up meaning more false applications or denied applications, more perjury? There's a reference in existing statute, or actually in the form that you have to fill out. False information could lead to charges of perjury. I'm just trying to think about, does this create hundreds of new ERPOs, and at what cost and what benefit? If indeed there's a benefit at the end of this, that we reduce violence either from people hurting themselves or hurting others. I guess that's still yet to be determined. But for a reluctance to jump into the middle of this and say expanding ERPOs is a net benefit to society, I'm reluctant in that space. And for that reason today, Mr. President, and to the sponsors, I'll be a no vote on Senate Bill 26004. Thank you.
Senator Zamora Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I, as you know, rise against this Senate Bill 26004. It's under the guise of public safety. It threatens to expand the already burdensome extreme risk protection order system in ways that will inflict unnecessary harm on innocent citizens, strain our taxpayer dollars, and erode the very fabric of trust in our institutions. As I had mentioned before, when this bill went through the committee, this bill had mentioned that there was no added costs. I'm going to continue to say that there are costs, and I will keep on reiterating. I will also reiterate the unconstitutionality of it. Even though it's been said that this has gone through the courts, Colorado courts, and deemed constitutional, I will also push back and say the courts have gotten it wrong before. And when the sponsor says that this bill is going to save lives, again, that means there's going to be an increase in ERPO reports. You're going to increase the demand, which has costs. and I explained monetary and non-monetary costs and the dangerous unintended consequences. Going back to the Constitution, I'll start with the Second Amendment. It's the bedrock of our right to self-defense and a bulwark against tyranny. Our Second Amendment states plainly a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Yet SB 26004, by broadening who can initiate an ERPO, invites a flood of petitions that could result in the temporary or even year-long seizure of firearms from law-abiding citizens based on mere allegations of risk. These are not convictions. These are civil orders issued unilaterally, often without the respondent even knowing until their door is knocked on by law enforcement. Again, this is the taking of firearms at gunpoint. The irony of it. Where is the historical tradition of disarming individuals preemptively without a criminal charge or trial? There isn't one. ERPOs like those expanded here treat gun ownership as a privilege revocable on hearsay and not a right. They deem guilty, and then you have to prove your innocence. In America, we are innocent until proven guilty. This isn't safety, it's infringement, plain and simple, and it compounds with bills like SB 25003, which already bans transfers of certain semi-automatic firearms, turning temporary seizures into permanent losses. If we pass this, we're not just violating the Second Amendment, we're eroding the very essence of American freedom. But the violations don't stop there. Let's turn to the Sixth Amendment, which guarantees that in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and public trial by an impartial jury, to be confronted with the witness against him and have compulsory process for obtaining witness in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. The proponents of SB 26004 will claim ERPOs are civil, not criminal, so the Sixth Amendment doesn't apply. But this is a distinction without a difference. When the stakes are so high, the loss of constitutional rights, public stigma, and potential criminal charges for non-compliance. Under Colorado's ERPO framework, which this bill expands without reform, temporary orders can be issued unilaterally, meaning the accused isn't present to confront their accuser or present evidence. No speedy trial, no jury, no cross-examination, just a judge's quick decision based on a one-sided claim from a school administrator or health care worker who might have a grudge or misunderstanding. And if the order sticks for 364 days, that's a de facto punishment without the protections of criminal process. Critics, including the NRA, ILA, have rightly pointed out that these red flag laws bypass Sixth Amendment safeguards, treating respondents like criminals while denying them rights afforded even to the guilty. By increasing the number of petitioners, SB 26004 multiplies these injustices, turning civil proceedings into backdoor prosecutions that chill trust in our judicial system. How can we call this America when it echoes the star chambers of old? And then we go to the 14th Amendment, which declares that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of the law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. Here, SB 26004's expansion strikes at the heart of due process. Temporary ERPOs Up to 14 days can be granted without notice or an opportunity for the respondent to be heard, leading to immediate firearm seizures that disrupts lives, livelihoods, and safety. This is not due process. It's presumption of guilt. The 14th Amendment demands fundamental fairness, yet under this bill, new petitioners like behavioral health facilities could file based on vague unsubstantiated claims, disproportionately affecting areas that cling to their constitutional Second Amendment rights. Equal protection? Hardly. Studies and legal challenges highlight how ERPOs can target marginalized groups or political minorities with no robust mechanism for appeal or expungement in Colorado law. The emotional toll, stress, stigma, loss of work deprives liberty without adequate safeguards. And when false petitions arise, as they inevitably will, with more filers, respondents face lawsuits or perjury pursuits that rarely yield justice. All the while, taxpayers foot the bill for court times and defenses. This bill does not enhance safety. It undermines the procedural protections that make our republic endure. In looking at the economics, again, it's mentioned there's no cost. But when you evaluate the monetary and non-monetary expenses, that is not true. And this is going to fall squarely on the taxpayer and those that are falsely accused. So consider the plight of a Coloradan that is falsely accused. Under this expanded system, imagine you're a law-abiding citizen, perhaps a teacher, a parent, and suddenly, because of a misguided report from a school or healthcare provider, now empowered by this bill, you're faced with a temporary ERPA lasting up to 14 days or worse, a full 364-day order. What are the monetary costs? Defense lawyer fees alone could run you $2,000 to $5,000 or more if you hire a private attorney. And there will be people that will hire a private attorney. I know the state is going to provide it, but who pays for that? The taxpayer. We'll get to that part of the argument.
Senator Zamora Wilson, would you like to go into your last 10 minutes?
Yes, Mr. President.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we're looking at, that's real money out of the pocket of someone who's done nothing wrong. And then there's gun storage. You have to surrender your firearms to law enforcement. They say it's free, but if you choose a licensed dealer to protect your weapon, you're looking at $20 to $50 per month per firearm. For a 14-day TURPA, that's $50 to $100. For a full year, that's $200 to $600 or more. Renewal fees for things like concealed carry permits, that's another $50 to $100 hit, plus background checks. ATF Form 4473, and those checks, $10 to $15, $25 each time you try to buy replacement or navigate the system after ERPO. But wait, it gets worse. When we factor in other bills like SB 25003, which prohibit the transfer, sale, and purchase of certain semi-automatic firearms, if an ERPO hits you before that ban, you can lose the ability to sell your firearms. So we're talking about resale value of $500 to $2,000 per gun, potentially wiped out because your property becomes non-transferable legacy items with zero market value. The compounding effect just isn't theoretical. It's a direct negative impact that SB 26004 exacerbates by increasing the sheer number of ERPOs filed. Now let's look at the non-monetary costs, which can be the most insidious. Time without your weapon for self-defense, now that's a profound loss. For those in the rural Colorado, which might be miles away from any help, or in high-crime neighborhoods where vulnerability spikes, the emotional and psychological stress from false accusations, that can exacerbate mental health issues. It can strain relationships and lead to therapy needs that aren't covered. Then you have time in court. Time is money. Money is time. Hours upon hours on hearing plus preparation and travel. They disrupt work, family, and life. And the stigma, ERPOs become public record, affecting employment, housing, social ties. No expungement in the Colorado law means this is a black mark that lingers. You can't hunt, recreate, or participate in gun-related communities, lost opportunities, social isolation, and then we have professional licenses where jobs involving firearms or security clearances are impacted. As I mentioned, my area, we have 5 military bases. Our security clearances, our jobs depend on them. National security depends on them, and the ERPOs will impact these. I can go on, and I know my time is drawing near. So that was just the monetary and non-monetary costs of someone who would be falsely accused. To the taxpayer, we have the monetary costs of increasing judicial workload and staffing. We have the increase in court-appointed defense lawyers. We have the increase of law enforcement time and resources. We have the increase in finances of gun storage and management. We have the increase of lawsuits from falsely accused ERPO reports. We have the increase of demand for ERPOs and program administration. We have the increase of compounded costs from SB 25003. We have the increase of public education and outreach campaigns. And in the non-monetary costs, the increase of time in court and judicial backlogs. We have the increase in strain on local governments and law enforcement. We have the increase of unintended consequences and the chilling effect on mental health and education access. And I'm going to revisit this again. In the military, if we think that our access to special programs is going to be impacted, we won't seek mental health. And that's a tragedy when you have members that need help and are not going to seek help because they think their clearance is going to be impacted. The same is applicable to the ERPOs. If I think that an ERPO is going to affect me, I may not go seek help. And then we have the increase of potential ERPO violations and criminal prosecutions. And then we also have the erosion of public trust and community division. When you have law enforcement coming to your door and taking your weapons away, how do you think that's going to impact the public? And who is this going to impact the most? There will be costs and non-monetary costs to the taxpayer, to those falsely accused, but it's going to hit women and minority. We are going to be stripped of our ability to defend ourselves. It's going to hit the low-income families. It's going to hit the fixed-income families the most vulnerable. We are opening Pandora's box. It is fraught with unintended consequences and unknown costs. It will have a chilling effect on people seeking mental health. I strongly, strongly urge a no vote on this bill. I think we can do better in helping those who need mental health. This bill does not do it. Please, I urge a no vote. Thank you.
Further discussion? Senadora Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Perhaps some members in this chamber would prefer to live in a world unburdened by facts or truth, or talking to the people directly impacted. But I live in a world grounded in facts, reality, and truth. So here's the truth. Extreme risk protection orders save lives. Red flag laws prevent harm. These policies and this bill that we are debating here today address the public health crisis that is gun violence. Over the past 2 years, we have seen an increase in the utilization of red flag laws to prevent self-harm. I ask for an aye vote on this bill, Senate Bill 004, because it will help to save lives. Don't believe me? Go talk to domestic violence prevention organizations. Go talk to mothers. Go talk to the family members of people who have had their lives ripped apart and turned upside down by gun violence. I ask for an aye vote on this bill.
Further discussion, Senator Danielson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, colleagues. I just wanted to say that the reality that we are living in right now is that this country is plagued by gun violence. It is so present in our everyday. It is shameful. My niece attends Evergreen High School. So just very recently, in my own county, my own family member had to experience this firsthand. My 4-year-old in preschool does drills. A 4-year-old doing drills to protect themselves from an armed shooter. My 8-year-old has become so accustomed to it that it hardly even crosses her mind when they have to do these drills. The effects of this kind of thing are real. And if you don't have young kids in your lives, you should go find some to visit with. It is disturbing. It's disturbing. We have in front of us an opportunity to take a small step forward to address the kind of devastating violence that is the United States right now. It is shameful. We have a chance to do something about it to prevent someone from getting hurt or killed or killing themselves. It's pretty straightforward. And we do hear from folks. If you take the time to listen, we are constantly visited by citizens and residents of this state during the entire legislature, coming here to beg us, expressing their frustration that they have constantly been crying out for resolution to this problem. Do something about it. Do something about it. I hear it over and over and over again. Even the young people coming and walking to us from East High School, for example. Listen to them. Do something about it, they say. I would like to come to them and say we are doing something about it, and we have been doing something about it ever since my colleague came into the House. Real significant change, and we have the opportunity today. What our communities are begging us to do is to take real action to address this situation. I don't want kids in perpetuity to have to prepare in their classrooms against a violent assault with a firearm. But that's the reality that we're in right now. And if we have the chance to give a tool to some of the folks in those institutions to prevent that kind of violence from coming to fruition, we have an obligation to take a step forward and say, yes, I will do something about it. I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 4, and I thank you all for your time today.
Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, Chicken Little has shown themselves. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. This is the same rhetoric that we heard in 2019. And to stand here and ask people to imagine, you don't have to imagine. This legislation has been in effect for 6 years. The latest data we have here, 692 have been filed between January 20th and December of 2024. You don't have to imagine what a single one of those were like, because they have the case file numbers and you can go in and read about it. You can go in and see exactly what happened. But that's too difficult for some people to do because that doesn't accentuate fear. And that's what this is all about from one side of this room, is to sell this fear factor. Because fear sells. Fear sells more firearms. And that is what they are all about. Not saving lives, not getting your kids to school, not getting home from work okay. What they are about is selling firearms and fear. And they've been doing a great job at it. There's like 1.6 firearms per person in the United States. They did that. They have done that and continue to do that with this kind of stuff. Talking about the cost. Under what basis do you have? We have people who work on this. Did you talk to them? Is any of that data in the report that they filed? I don't know if you recall, but last year, we had a fiscal note of in excess of $4 million on a piece of legislation that I brought forward. I had 3 conversations with that fiscal analyst. I sat and talked 2 different times with the people who are bringing that forward. Did they talk to anybody? No. They just fabricated scenarios in which cost would be rising. Again, this whole story of malice. People are inadvertently or making assumptions against somebody. Less than 3%. 3% in 6 years. That would be about 18 to 20 in the 6 years since this legislation has been impacted. You can also find out who they are, because that was put in the legislation, that is in the records that we have. You could have done that. You could have seen what felony charges were filed against them, if they did time, if they didn't do time, what ended up happening. But you don't want to do that. You just want to spout out and say, oh, they're going to do this. They might do this. Imagine this. 6 years of enforcement of this policy, you don't have to imagine anything. It's being done. And the people in our state, in my community, are asking us to do more. Every single petition that was filed by a healthcare, mental health professional, granted. Educator, granted. District attorney, granted. These were all additions that we did 3 years ago. We continue to stay within the number that we talked about in 2019. When I stood up with Majority Leader, Speaker Alec Garnett, we said we would be somewhere in the 150 to 170 range. That's where we are. That's where we continue to be. You don't have to imagine how much further it's going to go. 6 years of data shows you what it's doing. Even organizations, National Shooting Sports Federation, they have a survey of their membership. They don't want us to know about it, but the people at Everytown and the Trace found out about it. Their membership is in favor of this by about 65%. That's not what they want to sell, because that doesn't sell firearms. But those people who belong to that organization, they want this type of legislation. They're asking us to do more. We're doing more. We're saving lives. We'll continue to do that. With your vote today, we can move forward on this subject. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 4. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Frizzell, Kirkmeyer, Zamora Wilson, Rich, Pelton B., Henriksen, Bright, Carson, Pelton R., Catlin, Liston, Baisley. With a vote of 20 ayes, 13 noes, 0 absent to excuse, Senate Bill 26004 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Michelson Janae, Kipp, Amabile, Judah, Wallace, Cutter, Danielson, Weissman, Ball, Lindstedt, Mr. Majority Leader, Coker, Exum. Please add the President. General orders. Second reading of bills. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general order, or second reading general orders of bills.
You heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. About equal, but the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Senate will resolve itself Committee of the Whole consideration of general order, second reading of bills, and Senator Kipp will take the chair.
Thank you. The committee will come to order. The court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read, the titles of the bills on the general order, second reading of bills, consent, or no, not consent calendar, general order, second reading of bills calendar. Oh, I guess we're, sorry, Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over Senate Bill 32 until Wednesday, February the 4th.
The motion is to lay over SB 26032 to 24. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no? Okay, thank you. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read the title of SB 26001?
Senate Bill, excuse me, Senate Bill 001 by Senator Roberts and Representative Basnicker and Richardson concerning housing and in connection therewith authorizing a board of county commissioners to appropriate money to support specified types of housing and making the middle income housing tax credit available to transferees who do not own an interest in a qualified development.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 1 and the Local Government and Housing Committee report.
Thank you. The question before us is the Local Government and Housing Committee report for Senate Bill 1. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The Local Government and Housing report passes. To the bill, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to start with a couple amendments, and then I'll get into explaining the bill. So with that, I'd ask for 12 to consider.
There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Schaffler, can you please read L012?
Amendment
Senator
L012.
Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L012.
Thank you. That's been properly moved. Please tell us about it.
So this amendment just clarifies the definition of, or makes some changes in the recapture provisions of the middle income housing tax credit to add in the word qualified, because the bill as a whole is making some changes to the qualified taxpayer for that tax credit. And this is something worked on with the Colorado Housing and Finance Authority as well as Department of Revenue. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on L012? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L012 to SB 001. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The aye has it. L012 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Roberts. There is an amendment at the desk. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read L014?
Amendment L014, amend printed bill
Senator
page 2.
Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move L014.
Please tell us about it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a continuation of the previous amendment that we worked on with CHAFA and the Department of Revenue. This amendment defines the transferee for the purposes of the tax credit and then puts in recapture language similar to the qualified taxpayer language. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on L014? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. L014 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I'm very excited to bring forward Senate Bill 1, the first Senate bill of the session that is going to give more tools to our local governments, both counties, municipalities, and authorities that offer tax credits to help build more housing in our communities. We all know that this is a challenge we've been seeking to address for many years here at the Capitol, and we've made some good progress, but there's always more to do as we try to get more hardworking Coloradans into affordable housing and rental opportunities. This is a problem in every community across the state, and this bill idea comes directly from county commissioners, from city councils, from town managers, from housing authorities, people that want to build housing in their communities according to their desires and their community's needs. This bill simply gives more tools in that toolbox. It allows counties to use already existing funds that they have as a county government to build housing projects in their areas. It allows municipalities to sell land in order to build more housing for their municipality and people that live in their town. And it gives flexibility to housing authorities that want to form and create more housing across jurisdictions in their area. This bill has broad support from county governments to the Middle Income Housing Authority Board, CHAFA, Department of Revenue, the Colorado Municipal League. This doesn't require any community to do anything. This gives them more tools to have local control over their housing decisions and make sure that they can put more of their community members in housing that they can afford so they can continue to live in those communities and make them great places to be. We had a great discussion in the committee hearing and added some important amendments that has brought a lot more folks on board in support of this bill. And I asked for your aye vote, and looks like we're going to have a little discussion here. But at the end of this, I appreciate everybody's collaboration on this bill and ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 1.
Thank you so much. Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with all due respect, this would be a fine tool for local governments if that were the proper role of government, to provide housing for the people, to involve itself in that market, to be a provider of that market. So zoning, yes, that makes a lot of sense, but to provide the housing itself, the way that we should lower the cost of housing would be less and less and less involvement by government in our lives, including in our housing. In fact, it's estimated that 1/4 of the cost of a new home is due to government regulation. We need to shrink the footprint of government. That will cause the housing prices to be more affordable, not including government more into the process. So, all due respect, I do urge a no vote on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I too heard this bill in local government and certainly had some concerns. I appreciate the sponsors, maybe where his heart is at in this, but I'll tell you why I'm concerned about this bill. It seems to me that, and I realize it's not a mandate, but it seems to me that tax dollars of single-family homeowners into housing authorities are focused on the destruction of local property taxes. While housing affordability certainly has become an important issue for many Americans, a solution to this crisis should not be exclusively bankrolled by Coloradans who have already achieved the American dream. If ad valorem tax revenue is used for the development of workforce housing and high-density developments, lawmakers will be gambling with long-term wealth of everyday citizens. The Grand Junction Chamber had some concerns about this, and I talked with my county commissioners this morning, and while they're taking a monitor on this, it's because they have no intention of bringing this forward to spend ad valorem taxes on government housing. And with that,
There's an amendment at the desk. Mr. Schaffler, can you please read L013?
Amendment L013, amend printed bill, page 2, line 4, strike board and substitute
Senator
board
Rich.
dash.
thank you, Madam Chair. I move L013 to Senate Bill 1.
That is a proper motion. Please tell us about your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that this bill is going to pass. This is how this has been going so far, and we've only on day 2 of listening to bills. But this amendment, it seems reasonable to me because it would repeal the use of ad valorem tax revenue for workforce housing and multi-jurisdictional housing authorities after 5 years following the bill's enactment. The use of property tax revenue for high-density housing should not exist in perpetuity. Through this amendment, this use of property tax revenue would be limited to 5 years. This window would allow lawmakers to adequately assess whether this bill is helping or harming Colorado communities. By limiting the lifetime of the section of this bill, lawmakers would be creating an important off-ramp for this onerous use of property tax revenue. Now, in conversations through email with the sponsor, he did bring up the smart meetings that we have and a bill that was passed a few years ago that I actually supported, and it was about those smart meetings providing performance-based and how they were succeeding in programs and things like that. 2 weeks ago, I was in local government smart meeting. They didn't say a word about performance-based or how they were doing. So it seems to me that we pass a lot of bills here, and we never find out if they are successful or if they are failing. And so I ask for an aye vote on L013.
Thank you. Senator Frizzell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in support of this amendment. I agree with the good senator from Mesa County that too often we pass legislation that we really, it ages out, if you will. It loses its relevance, and yet it is still going on and on and on. I have several concerns about this particular bill, and I'm going to put my former assessor hat on here and relay basically what I observed as county assessor in Douglas County, where we have a housing authority that is quite robust, does a lot of good work, creates housing, rental housing. There are no for sale housing projects. And the thing that's very, very important to understand about property that is owned or even fractionally owned by a housing authority is that once acquired, it immediately becomes exempt from property taxes. So this is the scenario. And I kid you not, because I've seen some of these quote-unquote partnership agreements where a housing authority will enter into partnership with a developer for the grand sum of $1, and that property, that land, that development then becomes wholly tax exempt so long as that ownership structure exists. So what does that mean? It's just tax dollars, right? It's okay. It's just property taxes. And surely they are passing on the savings, since they're not having to pay property taxes, in lower rents, right? That makes sense. Well, it makes sense sometimes because it's not candidly always occurring. We have lots of these complexes that are market rent. And who is paying for the services that are going to that property? Who is paying to educate the children who live there? Who's paying for water and sanitation? Who's paying for emergency services? Say if you have to call the fire department or the sheriff's office. What about municipal services? Who's paying for that? Well, that cost is spread around to everybody else who is paying property tax. So I think we just need to be kind of careful when we're having these conversations, and that's why I really, really, really agree with this particular amendment, that we should revisit this after a certain amount of time. Let's make sure that this is actually legislation that's working for all Coloradans.
Thank you very much. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the discussion here by the senator from Grand Junction, the senator from Castle Rock. I just want to point out the irony of this amendment, though. This amendment proposes that if we pass Senate Bill 1, let's give more control to local authorities. Let's give more control to county commissioners, to city councils, to make housing decisions in their communities. But we're going to take it away. The state government is going to take it away and say, no, we know better than you. We know better than you, county commissioners. We know better than you, city councils. We're going to take this away. That's what this proposes. Senate Bill 1 is 100% voluntary. It gives counties and municipalities and housing authorities more flexibility, if they want it, to make decisions locally, to answer all of the questions that the good senator from Castle Rock just raised about who's paying for infrastructure, who's paying for the local services. That's a decision that gets to be made locally. I thought that's what my friends on this side of the aisle wanted. We had a robust debate about that 3 years ago in Senate Bill 213 and other bills. But now, we're saying in this amendment, no, the state knows better. We're going to give you a little bit, and then we're going to take it away. And to the good senator from Grand Junction, Senate Bill 174 from 2024, which was sponsored by the good senator from Weld County and our former colleague, Senator Zenzinger, is not just about SMART Act reporting. It's requiring that every municipality and county do a housing needs assessment and report to the Department of Local Affairs about the housing progress in their communities. Those housing needs assessments are starting to come in. I think the deadline is in a year or so for everybody to do it. Those are valid questions to come up at a SMART Act hearing to the Department of Local Affairs when they present. But we are tracking this. And this bill originates from county commissioners coming to me, coming to my co-prime sponsors on this bill, saying we would like this flexibility because we have some ideas, but they don't have to do it if they don't want to. That's all this bill is. I ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Thank you, Senator Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we all know that just because there's a sunset doesn't mean that it's going away. I can't remember a time when a sunset actually killed a prior bill. But it does give us a chance to look at this. And it's not asking a whole lot. It's not taking away local control, but it gives us a chance to look at this since we are not and have not gotten that information from the Department of Local Affairs. And like I said, I think your heart is in the right place. But it's very disingenuous of you to say that I don't appreciate local control, because I know for a fact that sunset bills never sunset. But it does give us a chance to look at whether that program is successful or not.
Thank you. The question before us is L013 to SB0001. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed say no. No. The noes have it. L013 fails. To the bill. Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of SB 001. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. L001 passes. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Sorry, the motion is to rise and report. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee has met and has a bill under consideration. Would the clerk please read the report?
February 3rd, 2026. Madam President, your committee on the whole begs leave to report has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 1, as amended, passed on second reading and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 32, laid over until February 4th, 2026, and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the committee report. I move the report to the Committee of the Whole.
The motion is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 26001 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 26032 laid over until 2/4/26 and retaining its place on the calendar. Announcements. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Senate Finance Committee members. We will be meeting today at 2 o'clock, and we have some confirmations to consider for the Limited Gaming Control Commission and the Colorado Racing Commission, and we also have SB 2639 and SB 26009. Look forward to seeing you all there.
Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Folks, tomorrow is Zero Fare for Transit Equity Day with RTD. I know everybody in here, I know our employer has made sure that we all get eco passes A lot of our staff have eco-passes, and I know we robustly use those on a regular basis to get around town by using our eco-passes. But tomorrow, because it's Rosa Parks Day, it's her birthday, they have free, no-cost rides on RTD. So maybe if you're out there in the lobby, maybe tomorrow, hop on the bus on your way into work. If you're down here in the area and you're going to lunch, maybe hop on the bus, go a little bit further to a different restaurant and give that a try. But again, tomorrow, not today, tomorrow, Rosa Parks' birthday, Transit Equity Day, free rides on the bus. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. Moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to introduce some folks that have driven a long ways from my 5th district out here to see what we do, how we do it, and they've been my guests a number of times. I'd like you to have them stand up from the 5th district. Thank you, ladies. They're here to visit you and to tell you just exactly what they think we need to be doing. So please greet them for me.
Senator Malka.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, today is Colorado Hospital Association Day at the Capitol. We have members from hospitals throughout the state, both here in Denver and in rural areas at the Capitol. We know how important hospitals obviously are to our state, especially to our rural areas, as that's their access to receiving care. As a ER nurse myself, really excited they're here advocating for patients and advocating for policy that can make sure that they keep their doors open and continue serving the people of Colorado. And so if you see folks from the Colorado Hospital Association out in the lobby or in the building, feel free to say hi.
Senator Amabile.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to announce that JBC will be meeting today upon adjournment of the House, and we will be looking to introduce 3 bills to go along with the supplementals. I'm sorry, 5 bills to go along with the supplementals.
All right. Majority Leader Rodriguez. Nope. Senator Sullivan. Again.
Thank you, Madam President. Today at 2 o'clock in the old Supreme Court, venue change. The Senate State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee will be hearing Senate Bill 29 and 27, plus having some conferments on Fire, Police, and Pension Association Board of Directors. See you there.
Now Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. Wednesday, February 4th, 2026.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will stand in adjournment until Wednesday, February 4th, 2026 at 9 a.m.